Welcome, everyone, to the 6th episode of the 792 Florida Sports Podcast. I'm Hunter Williams. I'm joined by a returning Eric Clark today, and we're going to hit on... you want to say anything, Eric?
I'm here and ready.
All right, and with that, we're going to go ahead and hit right into the first topic. I had a chance this past week to see Columbia versus Oakleaf over in Clay County. I wasn't sure going into it what to expect with Oakleaf. I will say, coming out of that game, I was very impressed with them. A very athletic quarterback, and they had a freshman running back that went over 100 yards in that game. They also had Miami commit Chance Williams on the defensive line, which I believe he finished with like 3.5 sacks in that game. But yeah, they're very good team. Very hard fought game. Columbia had a lot of they have a bit of work to do. They did give up some sacks in that game. Overall, they also had 3 receivers out, and I think they had a defensive lineman go down midway through the game. Hopefully, he'll be back soon. This week should be a pretty cruise game for us. Pine Forest next week will be a pretty good test. But again, with Oakleaf, very good team. I would honestly not be surprised if they were able to win their district or at least make the playoffs in 8A North for this year. Very good team overall. So, but yeah, Oakleaf, very good team. Looking forward to seeing what they do for the rest of this year. Columbia definitely has a little bit more work to do, but I feel confident from what I saw with this game plus the Trinity game the week before.
Well, I think the Trinity game was the true test and it showed what should be in store for. Now they just need to do what they're supposed to do and beat the teams that they're supposed to beat, regardless of injuries. You know, that's why you have depth, because injuries are going to happen. So I'm not shocked, and just looking forward to see, is this really the Columbia team that's going to challenge for 6A?
I definitely am. I'm looking forward to seeing that as well. Hopefully, we'll get a good. The game tomorrow will be a blowout, in my opinion. The game next week should be a very interesting one with Pine Forest coming to Lake City, and that heads right into our bye week. So hopefully next week will be another good barometer of where this Columbia team stands on the state level.
Yeah, that'll be a good look, and also it'll bring the state, bringing the Pensacola teams over to, closer to the Central to see how they stacked up, because we don't get to see them or talk to people from that area quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm actually thinking I might have to reach out to somebody in the Pensacola area, maybe see if I can find us like a guest for that show to see about, at least talk and give us some insight into what Pine Forest is going to be bringing.
Yeah, that would be great.
Well, with that was our quick hit on one of our week 2 games. Week 3, I ended up singling out 5 games. One of them actually involves Pine Forest. It'll be Escambia, which will be Escambia's going to be traveling to Pine Forest this week. Escambia did come off a pretty good win this past week, beating Crestview 32-0. I had Crestview pretty high up in my rankings, and Escambia really jumped up with that win this past week. I do feel like after a game like that, Escambia is going to have a lot of momentum. I see them going to 3-0 in this game over Pine Forest. They're playing tonight. Should be a very good game.
That'll be an interesting game to see, because those are 2 of the perennial powers that usually come out of the Pensacola area. I don't have the lay of the land for that area yet. I have to see the season play out before I really have an idea what's going on over there. Normally you'll have them, Niceville, things change, coaches leave and come and go. So this will be a good way for us to get a gauge on what's going on in Pensacola without having a direct contact there.
Oh, definitely. And I guess also as we already mentioned earlier, the Columbia Pine Forest game next week will also be a pretty good barometer of where they stand. Who are you liking in this game?
That's true. I'm just going to stick with what I know. I'm going to say Columbia, and then the Scambia and Pine Forest game. I would say Pine Forest.
Okay. This game right here was one that got added this week, actually. Venice traveling to play Trinity Christian. I did have an opportunity to see Trinity Christian 2 weeks ago. I don't know if that's going to be like was that the Trinity team to expect the entire year, or was it just Columbia being good in that game? That's one of the questions that I'm not fully sure what to expect with. In terms of this game, I would say Trinity is going to definitely face a very strong challenge against Venice. Venice, they lost pretty convincingly to IMG Academy in their first game, as did Trinity Christian, who lost to Columbia. Then Trinity bounced back to win an overtime game against Tallahassee Godby. Trinity is playing their first home game on the season. They were originally supposed to play Reball this week, but it got switched out with Venice.
I got Venice in this game. I think that just from what I heard, while Trinity has the talent, they have talent, but not the talent that they used to have, so they can't just rely on that. And apparently I'm seeing that their scheming may not be up to par to what it would take to beat a team like Venice that is going to have the scheme, and they've got an influx of talent from the entire Sarasota/Manatee County area. So I got Venice in this one.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'll take Venice in this one. I do feel like it'll end up being a competitive game, but I am leaning Venice getting the win here. Another game that got a slight shift a bit, not in who they're playing, but in location. IMG Academy will be traveling to Traz Powell to face Miami Northwestern. I believe that will be tonight. This would be a pretty interesting matchup. Miami Northwestern so far this season has shown that they've got a very strong defense, as they've started out with 2 shutouts over defending state champion Colonel Gibbons, and then knocking off Carroll City, who had beat Deerfield Beach pretty handily the week before. Of course, IMG's still going to be they got some serious talent there. I feel like this will be I honestly feel like it'll be a low-scoring, competitive game between these two. I want to pick Northwestern personally in this game. I would like to see IMG lose to a Florida Public, especially on the road. But it's kind of hard to pick against IMG. I'm thinking IMG probably by 10, 14 points.
So I'm going to detour on this one only because I have a thing about IMG. To me, they're not a Florida school. So whenever a Florida school plays them, it's basically an exhibition game to me. Or maybe just a barometer for that school, which could end up really bad or really good for them. So I'm not going to pick the game because the score doesn't matter to me. But I'm going to go and do a small detour and throw in some interesting 6A matchups that aren't really going to be talked about, but they could become prevalent to, say, a team like Columbia down the road. Because when I looked at the playoff picture, these teams could be on the collision course with them, and it would probably be a tougher matchup for them than it would Columbia. But right now, the Pinellas County duo of Clearwater and Largo have interesting games coming up. Largo playing Pinellas Park, who they had an influx of transfers from Pinellas Park, and Clearwater playing Jesuit, who Jesuit is always a 5A power. Both of these teams could be 3-0 after these games, which neither game is a gimme, in which they would match up next week, and which is essentially their early season district championship for that 6A district. The winner of that game will very likely be undefeated and very likely be on a collision course with Columbia. So sorry to detour from you, but I just have a thing about IMG. I don't talk about them. I'd rather go find something more interesting in the state. So for me, talking about a 6A matchup from a team who really don't usually play well in the playoffs, but the playoff road kind of opens up, so it won't get really tough until they would see Columbia, and I don't know if that would be a second, third, or a semifinal matchup. It just depends on how the points go, which we won't know anytime soon.
It would be a Final Four game because both Clearwater and you mentioned Largo, if I heard that right.
Yeah, they're in the same district.
Yeah, they're in Region 2, Columbia's Region 1, so they would only face off in the Final Four.
Okay.
I'll definitely keep an eye on those matchups as well. Definitely, if I forget, definitely remind me to check those scores because I definitely want to check that out. Another game.
Yeah, sorry. Go south, but normally those teams go south, and now they're going north with the change.
All right. Another game that caught my attention: South Dade traveling to Columbus. I did get a chance. Oh, sorry.
No, that's a good one.
But I did see a chance to see Columbus earlier this year. I watched their game on YouTube against Bell and Jesuit. That running back they have, Parrish, looked very impressive to me. Columbus, they seem to just be like overall very strong team. I'm going to lean Columbus at home in this one.
I was able to see that Bell and Jesuit versus Columbus game as well, and I came away very impressed with the running back from the each team had respectively. I'm going to go with Columbus as well. They look like they're primed for another state title run, and A seems like it's open for a new champ this year. So I'm going to go with Columbus.
All right. And the last of our games, Miami Central versus Carroll City at Travis Powell on Saturday. Not much to say about this game except for two very good teams, two of the strongest teams in South Florida. I'm going to lean Carroll City in this one.
I'm gonna go Central, and I think these games you can't really tell what's gonna happen. Nobody really predicted Miami Northwestern the last 2 years they didn't win them all. They won one, they lost another. You just can't tell. You kind of got to flip the coin and see where it lands on this one. It's going to be a defensive game. It's going to be something top. First one to 21 win. I'm going to go with Central.
All right, I'm looking forward to seeing the results of that game for sure. Of course, with the hurricane, which I ain't going to go too much into. There was a lot of shifting with the games, so we decided to go for a very limited week on the week 3 games. So now we're going to hit on some college football. There's 2 major matchups that I'm looking at for this week: Texas A&M at Clemson, LSU at Texas. For me, I'm going Clemson and Texas, so I'm going to go with both home teams. Who's your picks on those ones?
Clemson, they're right back where they left off last year, and I'm going to go. I don't think Texas is back yet, but neither is LSU. So I don't know. Let me flip the coin. Let me see. I'm going to go with LSU. I think that LSU has at least their player mentality is they know how to win tough games. I don't know if Texas is there yet. Texas hasn't shown me anything yet, so I'm just going to go with LSU.
Okay. It's definitely a tough game to call for sure, so I can't blame you for going LSU on that. Last show also, I did my early college football playoff predictions. I had 3 teams that I'm sure a lot of people probably also share in theirs, and I had one outlier that I'm sure very few would have thought of. I went with Clemson, Alabama, Oklahoma, and Penn State as my 4. What would be your early 4 at this point?
Clemson, Georgia, Oklahoma, and wild card. I don't think there's going to be 2 SEC teams in there. I think it's going to be Alabama. I think that Alabama's going to lose in the SEC this year. I just have a sneaky feeling that Georgia's actually going to win that SEC this year. So I think this could be the year that Alabama might not make the 4. They may get 2 losses, but I'm not going to pick it. I'm not brave enough to pick it.
Okay. Though, if they lose in the SEC, do you actually see it happening before the SEC championship?
I think they lose 2 games this year.
Okay. Very bold pick by Eric Clark. And I know we haven't really got a chance to hit on this like at all on our show so far, but we're